you are an officiant. Like you're like ordained to marry people.
I think the reason people come to me is when they think of long-term love and commitment.
It's not you.
They think of me, right?
So Todd, what is the craziest thing you've seen at the bar?
One of the funniest, craziest things, because if you didn't see it, it's really hard to explain it. I was bartending, and it was right around the time that, who was that? Was it Jerry Falwell was the televangelist or whatever that said something about the Teletubbies, that they're gay or something, right? Do you remember what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Tinky Winky.
Yeah, the purple one.
Right. That was like in the news, and it was like, are we seriously, this is newsworthy? Like that was the most ridiculous thing ever. But one of the groups of guys around town, the kind of meathead guys, they're in the gym 23 hours a day, and then they're at Sky Bar the other hour, chose to dress up as the Teletubbies in the full suits. And I knew who they were because I could see their faces and everything. I'm like, okay, the meatheads are all dressed as Teletubbies, which is hilarious. But then there was another group of guys that were like these redneck frat kind of a group. And they were all like in overalls and cowboy hats. And I don't know what they were trying to be dressed as, but they looked like farmers or something with cowboy hats on it. One of them accidentally, bumped into one of the Teletubbies, and a fight broke out. Like the guys in the cowboy hats and the overalls attacked the Teletubbies. But what they did not know was that these guys were underneath these Teletubbies. These guys have been waiting for this their whole lives. And it was the biggest barf brawl. And it was the Teletubbies just beating the shit out of the Cowboys, and like hats were flying. I mean, it was totally out of a movie. Like this didn't happen, but I think about, like putting a person on the bar and dragging them across that's what was happening. I mean, and then they had those like antennas on top of it, right? So somebody's on the ground, like doing this, and you just see the antennas flying, and like everything stopped.
I want to know how like you pick that apart, like if you're a bouncer, you gotta Teletubby, come over here. Cowboy, come over here.
Yeah, right. I think they just let it ride. I mean, like, let's just see how those guys got their asses kicked, though, by Tinky Winky and the boys.
Man, thinking about it, if they were in their like full Teletubby costume, they would be kind of cushiony, though,
Yeah. They were, I mean, when that happened, though, those guys were happy as could be. Like, we've been waiting to be able to do this,
This is what they prepared for. They got the costume specifically so they could throw a beat down in them.
I don't know if it was, premeditated, but it was fantastic. That's all I do know.
So what is like an ideal date night for you? Like if you had a good date here locally in Auburn, where would you go? What would you do?
So on a date, I think it's cool to do something that neither one of you would have ever done because it's just funny. I remember going on a date one time and I found like some weird county fair.
Nice.
And then said, let's go to this county fair. She laughed. She's like, that sounds hilarious. Let's do that. But if you're at a place that there's going to be crazy people watching, funny things, you're not in, either one of you are in the same, in your element. I'm hoping, like whose element is straight county fairs. But I think that it's interesting to be with somebody that isn't comfortable. And I wouldn't be either. Like, where are we? What in the hell is this? What do we do next? Because then you end up talking yourself through that, and it becomes like a funny memory. Not to plug trivia. Trivia is actually a good date option because
you can find out how smart the other person is.
Well, it's not necessarily that. It's more about, to me, it would be like you have not forced conversation, but you have something to talk about because you're trying to reason through a question, right? So it's like somebody like me that's hosting is throwing these discussion questions at you, and you're at a table setting, maybe, with some other friends, a mixed group of friends of hers and mine or whatever. That is kind of a cool trivia night. I think is a fun date idea too, because you are talking.
What are like some of the first questions you would want to ask during like a first date or a first meeting to kind of get to know them?
How they ended up where they are right now, like at the table with me, like where are they from? Tell me about how you grew up. How did you end up here?
Like you're single sitting with me at this table.
Why?
Why?
Yeah. Why are you with me? I like to hear about origin stories. Like I came from here. Like my background is, I'm from a farm town, which people will see me in a club in Vegas or something. Like, how did this cornfield, and there's a lot of stories that tell the story of how that happens. But everybody's got those stories. So that's what I want to hear. I want to hear how you ended up where you are now.
Yeah, I think as I've been going through and like talking with people a little bit more, it is really nice to kind of hear their origin story and what brought them to Auburn. Because there's so many people that are not from Auburn, but here they are and loving it and enjoying it and then coming back to it. Because I think the great thing about being in the nightlife industry, especially at a place like Sky Bar, is even if they graduated, they still come back. They come back for a game. They come back to visit.
Oh, yeah.
And you just kind of like, even like, last night was the Georgia game and we had a ton of people come through that I had not seen in years. And they remember who I am. And then like, I don't remember their names, but I definitely remember like seeing that. I know I hate that
I
so
can't
much.
stand it.
Ugh.
Half the people that come up to me, it just reminded me that a lot of them will be like, hey, you had me on stage slapping this guy. Like that always cracks me up. Like they'll always come up, hey, do you remember me? And I'm like, well, everybody looks familiar to me. That whole slapping thing, the way that started. Have I ever told you this?
Yeah, I think so. But I think the audience needs to hear this.
I'm up on stage and a group of girls come in and they sit in one of the tables that's pretty close to me. And I can hear, I can't hear what they're saying, but they're making plenty of noise. One of these girls was just losing her mind. She was crying. She had no business being in the bar. Like her friends were bringing her out. I'm like, and it was very distracting for me. I'm like, what in the hell? She was just crying in her beer, like just completely devastated. On the end of the stage, I've got, one of the random jackasses that is just will do anything for a drink. Like, Todd, let me, bring me up on stage, ask me a question. I need a drink. Like they can't afford the $1 beer, whatever. This guy's driving me crazy. She's crying. And finally I just kind of got up and walked down to that table of girls. And I'm like, what in the hell is going on down here? And one of the girls goes, she came to Auburn. We're juniors, and she had this high school sweetheart or whatever, and they came to Auburn together, and they've been together for 6 years or whatever. And story is as old as time. She walked in on him with another girl, and it happened like 20 minutes ago, and they decided to bring her into the bar. So I'm like, all right, bing, light bulb. For me, I'm like, all right, well, the only way that I'm going to get this girl to stop crying is for me to bring her up onto the stage. So I did. And I look over to the guy and I said, come on up. And he was ready to do anything. So I said, she just got cheated on and you want a drink. So I'm going to let her smack the shit out of you. And so that girl was tiny. Cute as can be, but looked like she wouldn't hurt a feather, right? But she was motivated. And I said, are you okay with doing this? And she goes, hell yeah, I'm okay with doing this. So I kind of put the microphone up near his face and I said, let loose on this guy. I mean, hit him. And I hit him hard. She went back. Now, most girls, like, they think that they can do that, but, they really haven't ever hit somebody.
No.
I don't think this girl had ever hit anybody, but I can tell you this. When she wound up and hit this guy, there was like a millisecond of silence in the crowd and then just a, wow, people went nuts because he just went, and he looked back up at me, and I said, man, are you okay? And he goes, I can't feel this whole side of my body. And I'm like, oh my God, that was unbelievable. So then I took him down to the bar and I got him a shot. But what I noticed was they didn't know each other. And so now you're standing down there with somebody that you don't like. It was a kind of a cool icebreaker. And a lot of guys are afraid, like, girls can be really mean. And they're afraid to go out, shoot their shot with with somebody. They're afraid to do that because girls are mean oftentimes. So I'm like, this is perfect. A shy guy can come up here, take a slap, but I'm going to send him down to the bar together. And then, then shoot your shot or whatever if you want to. I didn't ever announce that. But the reason I bring this up is because it was one of the football games a couple of years ago. And two people came down to the stage when I was on it, and they're like waving at me. It was a couple. And they were like, do you remember us? Do you remember us? I'm like, well, you look familiar. And she said, you had me on stage and I slapped him. And we didn't know each other. And then she put her hand up and she had an engagement ring on. She's like, we're engaged.
Oh.
And luckily, when that happened, I don't think I was doing weddings at the time, or I probably would have ended up having to do that wedding.
You can do the renewal.
Yeah, I could do the renewal. Or I could do the divorce party.
Whichever one.
Whatever's going to come first. But I thought that was cool. So, yeah. So then that's where Slap-a-Dude came in.
I love hearing stories like that where there is success in people actually meeting at a bar and having something successful outside of the bar, because most of the times you don't really get that vibe, you know, in a bar.
Yeah, that's low probability odds there. But that's a good story.
Yeah.
And a lot of relationships, survive on those good meet stories.
So, Todd, we met through Skybar, and you do a lot of like the trivia there. How did you get started doing trivia at Skybar?
Okay, so I think that the way I got into that, because I've done that for so long now.
Yeah, it's been a minute. Like, even when I was a patron, you were still doing trivia.
I had the hot dog cart vending business in town. I don't know do you remember that? Okay, so it was called Tiger Meat. And I had a cart outside of Skybar, and I had one outside of the Supper Club. But whoever they had doing trivia, it was always a fraternity-led thing. Like we're going to hire this guy. He wasn't an employee. He was some person in the fraternity. And I always looked at that, and I always loved trivia. But it was not good, in my opinion. I'm like, I can do this. But I'm like, you just give me that microphone. And so I ended up back bartending for a while, too, at Sky. And I would just sort of parlayed that whole thing. At one point, I was bartending, hosting trivia, and had the hot dog cart outside with the girls running that. So I was running shots out to them through the window and all that kind of thing.
Guzzling a hot dog, asking questions.
But if I'm going to be there anyway, watching the hot dog cart, then why not hand me a microphone and give me money so I can make a little money on the side too, because I got to be there anyway.
Yeah.
So that's how I did it. And I think it's been over 10 years. Easy that I've done that thing.
Is it difficult coming up with like new questions or like new things to do? Because I think the one thing that I've seen more people get more enjoyment of is the up, down, on it.
Yeah.
People love that one.
I started doing that because it's so hard for people not to be on their phones.
Yeah.
And whether they're cheating or not, I'm not saying that they're cheating, but
they're cheating.
But I mean, they're scared of me though, because I do not give a shit. And I will.
You're like, here's your paper.
Yeah, I like doing that. The up, down, or on it thing is just a way to still give away drinks without it. Nobody can cheat on that. So,
do you like the prizes that we give out? Because I know like a lot of other bars, they'll do like the big TVs and beer pong sets. And, for us, we do shots and drinks. Like, do you think that's like an appropriate thing to go ahead and give out?
I think it makes sense in the other bars. That'll bring people in for sure. I don't think Sky needs to really have much more other than give away drinks. The problem with giving away things that are really worth money, like TVs and things, how are you going to keep people from cheating?
Yeah.
The beer is only $1 during drink specials. Let's talk, come on. So me giving away 4 drinks at the end of trivia, you're not going to, you're not going to feel the need so much to cheat.
Yeah.
Because what are you really getting?
Yeah.
You start bringing in big ass TVs and stuff, but those rooms are a little bit easier to handle for them. Sky, like the upstairs is open. I'm like having to run around. It's exhausting trying to get people to put their phones down.
Didn't you have like a spinning wheel that you used to do?
I did, yeah.
What was that?
It was, so once you won, if you won, what your prize was going to be was based on the wheel spin. I ordered that off of, and it was, we put our own pie, pieces of pie in the little thing. And it was like, some of them would not be something you want to do, like a heavy shot, a Starry Night. But you're spinning and there's some sort of a game show aspect to that.
Yeah, it's fun. I mean, everybody loves a good spinning wheel.
Of course.
Do people take trivia pretty seriously? Like, have you ever had somebody like just get up in your face, like want to fight you because of trivia?
Nobody's, I have too much security around me there, like keep them away. Nobody's gotten that fired up. Again, I have to remind people, hey, look, we're talking about bar trivia here. Like, take it down a notch. People will come up to the stage challenging me on something, and I'll admit it. If I have something wrong, I'll say it, and I'll buy them a drink or something. But the people that come to me, I think, really do like trivia, and so they tell me that anyway. They're like, your trivia is good. Like we love it because you take it seriously, and so I don't think they're trying to trip me up, but they'll call me out if I have something wrong. But that's why usually I'm not wrong.
Do you notice a difference in like patrons throughout the years? I mean, you've been doing this for quite some time. Do you feel like the level of like craziness or drunkenness is like more heightened in this day and age? Or would you say like it's been crazy throughout the whole time? I
don't see any difference in that. I don't think. I think about when I was their age and I don't know that I would have. These gigantic drinks is just insane to me. Like the
32-ounce wells. Yeah,
I mean, you could dock a jet ski in those drinks. I would never have had that, and it's crazy to me to see them all on the tables. It's like how much liquid are you guys? How much sugar are you all putting down? Just go up and do a shot.
Now that I'm thinking about it, you are an officiant. Like you're like ordained to marry people.
Yeah. Like a god.
Yeah. Like how in the hell were you like, I'm going to do a hot dog cart, a bartending thing and trivia, but you know what? Let's marry some fucking people.
Yeah. Let's get that done too.
Yeah.
Well, but I think the reason people come to me is when they think of long-term love and commitment.
It's not you.
They think of me, right? No, I'm not sure how the hell that happened. It was actually one of the bartenders at Sky. They were getting, nobody's going to come to me if you have any religious affiliation of any kind. I'm not that guy. Like, no. I'm not going to be the guy I'm going to be the guy that's going to be struck down if you have me in that church trying to be pious in some way. But they came to me because they did, like, we're just looking to have a fun wedding and we're not, we're easy. And you're good with a microphone, like he'll be able to, why would we want to pay some stranger to come up there and do
say
the
words
thing? Yeah. And if it's somebody that they know, it made sense. So I got ordained and I did it. I was actually in a bar in Key West, Captain Tony's, 2:00 in the afternoon on a Tuesday, pretty buzzed, had my laptop out. I was doing emails and working. Which all the things you just listed, the hot dog cart, like it's not even what I do for a living.
It's not. We haven't gotten there yet.
So I'm there and I'm having a drink at Captain Tony's and decided to get ordained. And, it cost me, I got the full package, cost me like $60. I have like a parking pass for clergy. Where am I using that? I have no idea.
Not the church, that's for sure.
It's not, I'm not looking for some place to park at the church. So where do I use that?
So how many weddings have you actually officiated?
So I think I'm at 7, but one of them was a renewal.
Oh, okay.
And it was on one of my trips for my normal job. It was in Mexico. So I've actually done 3 in Mexico.
They got clergy parking over there too?
I was helicoptered in for that. Yeah. Yeah. 3 in Mexico. I'm 6 and my record is 6-1. I got one fatality, but the rest are still going strong.
Let's talk about the time you married somebody inside the DJ booth.
You were there. I mean, you were on stage with me, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, good Lord. So we were doing the Halloween contest, as we do, hosting. And by design, it might be my own design, but when I do that, as you well know, I'm the drunkest person in that building, probably.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. and I want to be. Like, I'm having a blast that night. But because of that, we were on stage and one of the security guys is yelling at me, and I'm on the microphone. We've got however many people are out there, hundreds, 2,000, I have no idea. Anyway, I look over and the security guy's like, hey, this guy's really wanting to talk to you over here. And I look over and I see this couple standing there. Now I am dressed as Brett Michaels. I mean, I've got eyeliner on, bandana,
fake hair.
I've just blown a fireball. I turn around and I see these 2 people and they're in 80s big hair. They're dressed as I think he was dressed as the lead singer of Whitesnake, and she was Tawny Katane, which was the girl that was on the Whitesnake videos in the 80s.
Yep.
Across the car, right? So I walk over and I'm like, what in the hell are you two doing? However, I was slurring that out. And they said, we want you to marry us tonight, right now, or, whenever. And I'm like, that's hilarious. But you guys, it doesn't work like that. Like you have to have a marriage certificate. I've got to go through a thing. And he just did this in his jacket and he had it. So it was a setup. Like they knew where I was going to be.
Yeah.
And so basically I just looked around like, okay, I guess this is going to have to happen. So I sort of announced it and I said, I'll be right back. And I said, go up to the DJ booth. So then I went up there. The whole contest just stopped. Like I felt like I was the only person in the room for some reason.
No, it was still going because I was there. I'm like, where the fuck did Todd go?
I run up and I look and I see Wales, a good friend of mine, Wales Terry, that works at Hamilton's.
Yes, best bartender there.
Right. She's standing at the end of the bar and I look at her and I said, I need you to come upstairs because you need to witness this because I'm not going to remember it. Ben has a picture of that. Like he was up there, right? And I'm just completely going through a marriage ceremony in the Sky Bar DJ booth.
I'm going to ask the couple. Obviously, we don't want to share their name or anything like that, but I'm going to ask them if we can share that photo because I have that photo.
Yeah.
And it's a great photo because every time I look at it, I'm like, this literally happened. A lot of people fake proposals and stuff like that to get drinks, but this couple literally got married.
That happened.
In the DJ booth.
100%. Now, the only thing I will say is, and once I was done, go back down on stage and the crowd was like, that really just happened. Anyway, it did. But he called me the next day and he's like, hey, where are you? To come talk to you. I signed the marriage certificate in the wrong place. So, and there's no light up there. Like I was just up there like, one eye. But if you
eyeliner just like seeping in through your eyes.
If you look at that picture though, and don't have any context, it looks completely ridiculous. Like I'm dressed the way I am. They have these big wigs on. And we're in a DJ booth. I mean, it just looks completely ridiculous. And I look like I'm going through a full on, reading out of the Bible or something. I was not reading out of the Bible, but whatever I was holding. Yeah, that's a good picture.
At that point, like if you were reading from a Bible, I would be like, why do you have a Bible at the bar right now?
Yeah, that's a good. I was not. Wait, I was not. I can't remember the last time I had a Bible in my hand.
Not at your clergy parking spot, that's for sure.
Clergy parking. Wish I could figure out how to use that to my advantage. I've got kind of a funny story about how I did get to Auburn. I mean, when I first came to Auburn and actually saw it, I was a senior in high school. My dad had a fraternity brother where he went to school that was from down here. He was from Montgomery. And so he called this friend of his from college and said, hey, look, my son's interested in Auburn. I know that you are an Auburn fan. Like, do you have any way to help him? Like, if I send him down there,
can you help him navigate?
Yeah. What can you tell me about, So this guy got back to my dad and said, well, my daughter's at Auburn right now and she's a senior. And if you send your son down there, I'll have her take care of take care of him. And so my dad was like, yeah, let's do that. So the next thing I know, I'm driving to, and I questioned my dad on this. I'm like, what is happening? Like, I'm going to
Meet a stranger.
Auburn. I've never been there in my life. And this girl is just going to take care of me. Like, what does that mean? I was staying at their apartment and she had like these 3 roommates and they were seniors. I felt so bad. I'm like, oh my God, who wants to deal with a senior in high school that's a complete stranger? I felt horrible. So I drove to Auburn and I met this girl and she was gorgeous, by the way, which is another problem. Like, oh my God, now what am I getting into? Go to their apartment. These other 3 girls, awesome. I mean, like, I had no business being with these girls, but they were so nice to me. And the entire weekend, it was Auburn, Georgia weekend, by the way, at the time. Huge game. I had tickets to the game. They were taking me everywhere and sneaking me into bars and like I completely fell in love with all 4 of those girls.
Nice.
And anyway, cut to, I left, had the best weekend of my life, never wanted to leave. Had to go back and graduate from high school for some reason. But when I came back to Auburn as a freshman, I was at Haley Center and I hear this girl yell. You know, it's also before like social media and stuff. Like I had no contact with these girls after I left. It was like, goodbye, have a nice life. And I was in love with all 4 of them. But that girl that yelled from saw me and came running down the stairs and like hugged me and was like, you came, we sold it on you.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yes, you did. And I'll never forget that because they did not have to be that nice, which goes to the whole hospitality thing around here is just, everybody's just so nice and everybody loves Auburn.
That's the thing. Like, in like my day job, there's people that we interview that don't live in this area, don't know anything about this area. And they're coming from like, the Northeast or up north. And the interpretation that most people will have about Alabama in general is, tornadoes and trailer parks. But it's like you get here and it's not that at all. I remember for myself personally, coming here from Seattle, walking the campus for like my stepdad just dropped me off at campus and he went to work and was like, all right, have fun. And I'm like, okay, I'm just this, pale Asian kid with like a fake red mohawk and I'm just going to walk. Cause at this time,
were you full grunge?
Yeah. Like Seattle? I was like Nirvana, like, let's go. Especially like down here in the South, like we didn't really have a lot of diversity at that point, and so I'm just walking around and taking it all in, but everyone was so welcoming. It was so nice. And it just, when people come here and they finally get to experience it and they're like, this is home. Like it really is home. Like the definition of Auburn is home.
Yeah.
And that's how it is for a lot of people that come here. And that's why business is booming everywhere in Auburn. We get these new high rises, a bunch of hotels is because people want to come back. They graduate. Yeah. They either want to come back to live here or they want to come back and visit as often as they can.
And now more than ever, you can do that coming back to work because so many people are mobile.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's just a matter of where do you want to live as opposed to where is my job?
Yep.
So I'm a good example. Like I'm work out of the house. I fly in out of Atlanta. I have nothing to do in Auburn other than I choose to live here. Now, while I'm here, I'm going to do things like host Halloween contests and
do trivia,
holiday parties and bartend when I can. But yeah, exactly. But yeah, that's the way it was for me. They always say Auburn, it's not for everybody. And I get that. But if you either absolutely, it's just not for you or you absolutely love it. And I was just one of the ones that loved it.
Same here. Like I couldn't imagine living anywhere else because the great thing about Auburn is it is small enough, but you're still connected to a lot of different places that's within driving distance. You want a bigger city, you want to do more things. There's Atlanta, there's Birmingham. If you want to go to the beach, like it's like, 3 hours just down the road. Like and then like whenever you get game days, basketball, gymnastics, even like equestrian, like all of these activities are open to everybody here. And it just makes it so fun that it's never dull here.
Yeah.
What's it like in Auburn for, for you throughout the years, dating wise? Like, do you think Auburn's a great place for people to meet one another?
So many people are transient here. Like they're here for 3 or 4 years and they're gone. Some people end up staying, like myself, or like there is a community outside of the university, but so many people are transient and, come through and then they're gone. I was always happier single than I was with somebody, even though I think I was good at it. And, being in a relationship, I was fine. I was happy, but there's something about not being tied down there that is always sort of I've leaned towards. But I'm also, because I travel so much, I always sort of gravitated towards longer distance relationships because I have, I've dated people in all kind of other cities that have been long term, but that always worked better for me because I was traveling so much and it was easy for me to do that. So I separated Auburn from a lot of the relationships I had.
For you, obviously you're a very social person and you do have like a great network of people. So does that mean like you typically like to meet people, dating wise through other people, or are you on like apps and stuff as well? What do you use?
I don't use anything. I think I just meet people, whether they live here or whether they're coming through here or whatever. But I know enough people in and around town that I'm introduced to people all the time. Like yesterday, I probably met 50 new people or something. Dating apps, I think they're fine. I mean, I did do that for a while, but what I used it for, I never used it in Auburn. Because I don't know, like the students around here, it's funny. They're like matching with people that are standing on the other side of the bar. It's like the weirdest thing, like their range, like find me somebody that's within 20 yards of where I'm standing right now. So I think that's the way that they're kind of doing it. And it's like like a one night hookup or whatever. I used to turn mine on when I traveled because I was usually by myself and I would go to nice restaurants and I'd sit in nice places and go to clubs and do this stuff, but I'm traveling by myself. So I'd end up sitting at the bar and reading a book or something. I'm like, if I'm going to be here, why not? I mean, I could easily just, go on a date and find somebody
to just talk to.
And just have a conversation with somebody new. So I started doing that and I quickly realized, and that worked. Like I'd go to LA and, like suddenly I'm talking to people and I'd end up going to dinner with somebody, but it's hard to do that and not appear like some sort of a traveling psychopath, serial killer, and then I would find myself over explaining. Like, look, I travel for a living. I'm just here for 2 nights. And they're like, this guy's married or he's going to kill me or, like there's something. There was no good way to explain that. And I meant no ill intent.
Did they feel that way though? Like whenever you were on the date, like, were they apprehensive?
When someone would message me, I would kind of message them back. And I would sort of explain that I don't live here, but I'm exactly what I just said.
Yeah.
And I think that turned people off because it was like, what's this guy doing? Like, why is he? So I wouldn't get a message back.
Gotcha. Okay.
So I'm probably inventing that in my head, but I'm thinking.
Is that a recent thing or is that something that you did previously? Because I think like nowadays it would be more acceptable because I know a lot of people are traveling a lot more and everyone just kind of wants to meet, and especially if you have something like social media. If you meet on, like Tinder, Hinge, or whatever app you want to use, you can just go on like their social media page and kind of like stalk them a little bit and make sure that they're not like a crazy psycho killer,
Maybe I should bring that back. Try it again.
I was going to say like, how long has that been since you actually tried it? Because I think society's changing a little bit to where meeting new people out of the norm is kind of the new norm in a way.
You're probably right about that. Maybe I should bring that back.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your stories for us. And, I'm dying to know, like, if you're the couple that got slapped and got engaged, like if you guys are married and you're doing a renewal, hit Todd up, come to my DMs. I want to let's talk to you. Let's see how you guys are doing today. But again, thank you so much for joining us.
Absolutely.
And I guess we'll see you at the next trivia.
I'll be there.